Allow me to introduce my guest, Kim. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So, I just want you to start by telling our viewers more about yourself and your experience with mental health in terms of an academic perspective.
All right. I studied psychology single major at the University of Botswana. And after I graduated, I interned at the UV Psychology Clinic for about 2 years. So that's the experience that I have with mental health.
Okay. And in terms of Botswana specifically, do you think, what's your view on mental health as we stand today?
I think we are developing in terms of reaching awareness about mental health. It's not exactly where it should be or at a place that is satisfactory, but for where we're doing right now, I think we're doing pretty good in terms of reaching there.
Okay. And I think it's important to note that young people are now more vocal about mental health. But today we are going to be talking about whether parents are actually aware of the mental issues that children face, and if they are aware, what are the things that they can do to be helpful. So, and as much as young people are making strides towards dealing with their mental health issues, do you actually think, besides their kids telling them, are parents responsible for knowing about the issues that their children face?
It is a parent's responsibility, because when you look at it, parents look at their children from a very gated point of view. Like, they don't look at their children holistically as both people having physical and emotional needs. You find that parents only cater for physical needs. That is, if you have shelter, if you have food, if you have an education, if you have a place to sleep at night, then you're fine.
Yeah.
But they don't look at kids as having emotional needs that they are responsible for catering to. So parents are responsible in that sense, that it's their responsibility to know whether their kids are doing okay, and if their kids are not doing okay, it's their responsibility to do something about it.
Yeah, because I think when I do use the word kids, I do include myself. I'm not saying I'm a kid, but I'm just saying at my age, their children at my age are my parents responsible for that, given the fact that it's at this age we don't really live with our parents anymore. We have our own lives and we see them now and again. And even so, I guess my question is, even at this point, are they still that responsible for our mental health? Not responsible for it, but knowing about it and actually maybe nudging you to do something about it.
I think your parents' responsibility will always lie in knowing what is going on in your life as their child.
Okay.
So even if it's not just about your mental health, about other things in your life, your parents have that responsibility of knowing what's going on. And so if you are experiencing a lapse in mental health or a decline in mental health, then it's very important that you communicate it with your parents, but also they should make that effort to know what's going on in your lives.
Okay. And do you think in Botswana parents are aware of the state of their children's mental health?
I would say parents are starting to be aware that there's something wrong, but I think the issue lies with how they interpret what's going on with their children's lives, because you find that parents interpret you being upset as you being moody. They interpret different symptoms of mental health or mental health illnesses as something else as opposed to what it actually is.
Yeah, that's very true. And I don't know if it's a generational gap causing it, because like you giving an example about being upset, parents who I found know what's going on with their kids or have an inkling that something is wrong usually don't have the best of reactions to that situation. And I don't know if it's because they've never dealt with it or acknowledged mental health specifically, not just mental illness, but like mental health.
You find that mental health is only a conversation that we're starting to have now. And whereas during our parents' time, it wasn't a very common thing to talk about. You find that mental health was just about as taboo as sex. Talking about it then. And also, the only information that they had about mental health went as far as, psychotic disorders of people who we find roaming the streets. So they don't really have a lot of information. How is it so similar to your parent? They think you know what I'm saying? So they don't have a lot of information themselves as to, what actually is failing mental health or what is ill mental health.
Okay. And I think it's important, if we're talking about the responsibility that parents have, to also talk about the responsibility that we have in informing our parents about what we're going through. Especially, like I said, when you are at an older age where maybe you have your own life now, you have your own kids, but your parent will always be your parent, and their support actually goes a long way in helping with mental health struggles. So given that we are starting to have the conversation with our parents, but we're really not at a point where I find it's very easy to just say I'm depressed and then leave it at that. And sometimes I think it makes you feel like you've talked about it, like you've said it to your parents, they know, but you don't really want to discuss it. And I guess in your experience, what do you think are the main contributing factors to children not being able to be forthcoming with their parents about their mental health struggles?
Yeah, I think it goes back to having a certain type of relationship with your parent. It's very important for you to have a stable and secure relationship with your parent, for you to be able to let them know that I'm not feeling okay in this way. But then you find that the sort of relationships that most Botswana children have with their parents, I'm your parent, I'm not your friend. So there's that line or that wall that is built between parents and children, which makes it very difficult for children to be able to reach out. You find that sometimes parents have their own things that they're dealing with. Work is hectic, you're a single parent, or you're going through divorce, or you're going through this, you're going through different sort of things, you're trying to make ends meet, and you don't have as much time to give your children, to give that part of yourself that is vulnerable to your children. So there are a lot of factors that come in between children having, and when I say children, I don't mean infants, but people that were born by other people. There are a lot of factors that come in between them being able to have a secure relationship with their parents. And also another thing that makes it difficult for children to be able to speak out is you find that parents hold certain stigmas against mental health. We know our parents, and we know how they speak about how Mang was taken to Sabrana, and they feel that there are different reasons why people experience mental health. Maybe kiboloi, maybe they have all these sort of stigmas that make it difficult for you as a child to able to speak out that I'm actually going through this as well.
And I think it's very important that in everything that you're saying, you're not disassociating mental health from your everyday life. Because I think in you saying that it comes from the relationship that you have with your parents. And your relationship needs to be holistic in order to include mental health. So I think that's a very important point to make. But I do agree with you in saying it's a lot of stigma around mental health. And that's why when we were kids, we knew about it before we knew what it was. And I'm pretty sure for most of us it was a negative connotation to it. It's because our parents say things in passing, but especially about things like mental health, where it's a very sensitive topic to talk about. So when society constantly mentions it in a negative way, if you're going through something like that, then you end up thinking, hey, if I say something, then that's what people are going to say about me. Back to Mind Games. I'm still sitting with Kim, and we're discussing whether parents should be aware of that children's mental health issues, and if they are aware, what are the things that they can do to be of help. Now, we took to social media to post polls and ask Botswana their opinion regarding this issue. And the first question was, would you ever tell your parents, or have you ever told your parents that you have a mental health issue? The results were, on Instagram, 47% said yes and 53% said no. On Twitter, 57% said yes and then 43% said no. And on Facebook, it was a tie, 50-50. What do you make of those results?
I think it's quite interesting how they're almost 50-50, as in people are ready to have that conversation, but also just as much people are not ready to have that conversation. And you find that part of the reason why people are not ready to have this conversation is that we know our parents, and we know how they react to things, and we know what their take on mental health and ill mental health is. So we find that most people are not ready to have that conversation with their parents because of how their parents would interpret it.
And the leading on to that, actually, the second question was why they haven't told their parents if they haven't. And most people actually said they feel that they would be laughed at or told that they are lazy. And others who actually have done it before said they actually got those responses and even worse.
Yeah. I think the thing is, you find that a lot of our parents are in denial with mental health illness. They don't want to believe that it could happen to them or that this is something that happens to their families.
Yeah.
So they look for other reasons to sort of justify why this person is behaving this way, and you find that they turn to hurtful things such as laziness, or you just don't want to work hard enough, or you must be kidding if you say you are having a mental health
while I was reading
crisis.
that out, actually, like saying that they are laughed at or they being told that they're lazy, I just realized how harsh it is to hear that from your parent in any instance. But like when you're coming and telling them such a sensitive thing, that actually takes a lot of courage for you to do, and then somebody laughs at you or tells you that we've been through this. I know a lot of people who've been told, who do you think you are? Like we've been through this. You just soldier on and you move on with your life.
Yeah.
There was also a large number of people with the third question that attributed the responses that parents gave to our culture. And we touched on this earlier. And I think it's a good thing that we are that self-aware as a nation, that our culture does contribute to this. But it also says something that almost everyone will say, but this is because of our culture. Because I fear that takes away responsibility from us. Because now we have something else to blame. We shift the blame to our culture. And that means if I don't see anything, it's not my responsibility anymore. I can just say, so I can't do it. But I guess, like you said, with it's about forging. Like just trying and being more aware and being educating both ourselves and our parents. The last question that we posed was that we know that our parents love us and they want to help us, but it just seems like there's so much fear from children with regards to telling their parents. And I guess that fear, like you said, it comes from us. Well, from some of the people who've said it before, but because why do we have so much fear? Like, we know that my parent might react this way, but this is such a vital part of who you are. Your mental health is a very big part of who you are. And it's very hard, I guess, for us to actually forge through that fear and say, I'm going to tell my parents. What would be your advice to both parents and their children, I guess, in ending with regards to this topic?
I think it's important for us to recognize that as much as we do fear having this conversation with our parents for very legitimate reasons, that sometimes they might just not react how you'd want them to react, but at the end of the day, this is your parent, this is a person that loves you, and they would do the assumption anyway is that they would do their best that they could to be able to help you or to provide you with that emotional support. So know that it's important for you as a parent to give this emotional support. It's also important for you as a child to seek this emotional support and to go forth with trying to reach out to your parent, no matter how difficult it is, because in my experience, sooner or later, parents eventually get around to understanding. Once you've communicated with them consistently enough and for a longer period of time, they eventually understand that this is what my child is going through, and at the end of the day, the bottom line is that they want to support you and they want to help you.
Well, thank you very much for gracing us with your presence today. I think I've learned quite a few things and gained a new perspective on our parents with regards to mental health, and I'm pretty sure that our viewers will also leave this video having learned a thing or two. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And hopefully we will see you soon.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this episode of Mind Games, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button for brand new episodes. Thank you and see you soon.